Are you like most sales and other professionals who want to grow their wealth faster than what they are currently doing through their company 401k, even with that company match, the stock market, or just plain saving money? Would you sleep better at night if you had the financial freedom to be job optional in just 3 to 5 years through investing in real assets? Maybe you don't want to stop working, but wouldn't it be cool if you could retire a decade earlier than most? And do the traveling you and your family have planned for years while you're still young and can enjoy it? Let's face it, most busy professionals don't have the time or desire to take on more work outside of their W-2 to grow their wealth. On The Wealth Flow, each week we share the stories, the investments, and take a deep dive into the various asset classes that can deliver that accelerated growth to your portfolio passively. That's right. No extra work for you. Instead, we'll put your money to work. Learn what the 95% aren't talking about and join the top 5% of earners today on The Wealth Flow.
Welcome to The Wealth Flow. Today's guest is Ramsey Blankenship. Ramsey was born and raised in Southwest Louisiana. Ramsey joined the Navy shortly after graduating high school. He is currently a Master Chief Petty Officer Explosive Ordnance Disposal Technician in the U.S. Special Forces, or the U.S. Navy Special Forces. His day job involves defeating the improvised explosive device, rendering safe weapons of mass destruction, and hostage rescue, as well as underwater mine countermeasures and conducting direct action missions. As a free fall parachutist and Navy diver, Ramsey understands the importance of paying attention to detail while working under pressure. Ramsey is an experienced investor specializing in converting distressed properties into income-producing assets. His portfolio consists of over 500 apartment and hotel units across the U.S. He is the founder of Real Focus Capital Investments. He's also the founder of Middle Class to Millionaire Facebook group and the co-host of the Guerrilla State Investing podcast. Lives in San Diego. I'm jealous of the weather probably there compared to Texas, and is married to his beautiful wife, Hope, and is the father of 2 children. So, Ramsey, welcome to the show.
Hey, Keith. Thanks for having me, brother. I appreciate it.
You got a very interesting background. First, as far as growing up in Southwest Louisiana, what part of Louisiana? Lake Charles area or?
Lake Charles, yeah, they call it the Hill of the Boot, Southwest Louisiana. Yeah.
Okay. I'm familiar with it. You have to travel out towards the Beaumont, Port Arthur area quite a bit for work, and we've done some sales recognition stuff out at the Golden Nugget there in Lake Charles. So.
Yeah, that's like the flagship of Lake Charles now is the Golden Nugget and LaBerge casinos.
That's right. Exactly. So, well, and if you want to maybe just talk a little bit about, like I say, very interesting. First, thank you for your service. It sounds like a really interesting, not just serving, but serving in the special forces. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, I actually joined the Navy right out of high school and was not planning on doing anything special operations, special forces related at all. Was just going to do my 4 years, get my college and get out. And then life changes, man. As soon as I got in and kind of found my spot, I've been addicted to it, but I've been in 17 and a half years now. So I got just a little over 2 years until I can retire and transition to the real estate full time. But yeah, man, I'll tell you it's funny because people in the military ask me all the time, like, hey, you full-time active duty military, worldwide deployable, deploy for 6 months at a time. How is it that you're able to do business, real estate, things like that. And man, it's just, you would be surprised at how quickly the skill sets that you develop in the military with leadership, logistics, planning, just running teams, connecting with people, hold yourself accountable, attention to detail, all those things translate very smoothly into the civilian world. I think the one thing that doesn't translate smoothly is managing a budget, because that's not really the military person's job. We just kind of got
it's the opposite, right?
Yeah, I definitely had to learn finances, or I wouldn't even say I had to learn finance. I had to partner with somebody who was good with finances. So yeah, it's taken quite a while to build up the network and the to get to over 500 units with hotels and stuff like that. But I call it building my mountain with layers of paint, man. Every day I get up and I put in at least an hour into real estate. Today's hour is going to be with you on this podcast, and then I'm going to kind of turn it off, right? But some days I do 3-4 hours. Some days I do, just that 1 hour. But every day I put an hour into real estate, and that stuff really adds up. And I will tell you that we tend, and even military folks, we tend to overestimate what we can do in a short period of time while drastically underestimating what we can do in a long period of time. And over the 17 years I've been in the Navy, man, I've been chipping away at real estate since 2015 and keeping adding. And it's kind of like, to me, the best venue for investing for military folks, because it's a la carte. You don't have to run a business. You don't have to manage the day-to-day tasks. You can purchase something, set it up to be passive, and then go on about your life, and then just kind of provide maintenance on it intermittently as needed. But if you don't want to invest in real estate today, you don't have to. You can do it tomorrow. You can do a lot in the beginning of the year and nothing in the end. Like, it really is kind of pick and choose when and what you want to do. I just happen to be kind of addicted to it, so I'm always doing it. Right?
Yeah,
but that's how I am, man. So yeah.
Okay, no, that's fantastic. And yeah, I could see how a lot of those, I mean, whether it be the military, whether it be management, whether, there's so many things that just, translate into this business. And, what you said about kind of the layers of paint, or, a little bit adding up, it's so true. Real estate's one of those forgiving assets or investments rather, that, time compounds it, and so even if you maybe didn't have the best purchase, the best initial, price on it, time heals it. So, and it continues to build value. So, how about obviously you're in apartments now, you're in hotels. What did you start with, and what did that look like?
I started, for any of the military folks listen, I call it like the accidental landlord, right? So being in the Navy, man, you get moved all over the country. And I had a house out in San Diego, California, and this was not an investment. It was just a single family house that me and my family were living in. And whenever we moved, we had some equity in it. And I was looking at moving to Panama City, Florida, and trying to maintain a single family rental in California. And we get a housing allowance. Well, the housing allowance was about to get cut in half. So I was looking at this San Diego house, like, if somebody misses a payment, I'm done. Like, I can't afford it.
Yeah.
So we sold it, and we put like $40,000 in our pocket. I was 23 years old, and I looked at my wife and I was like, babe, we are rich. We're done. Like, we can retire now. $40,000 is a lot of money. It's a lot of money today, but it was definitely a lot of money to a 23-year-old Ramsey Blankenship. Well, whenever I moved to Panama City, I kind of had felt the power of real estate, but a mentor of mine told me that if you can ever get into multifamily and live in one side, rent out the other, then you would set yourself up very well if you can find a way to live for free. And so I remember going home, telling my wife, I was like, babe, I'm going to go buy a duplex in Panama City. We're going to live in one side. We're going to rent the other side out. It's going to be awesome. We're going to live for free. And she was like, how about no? How about we are not doing that at all? I'm not living in a duplex. We're not sharing a wall with somebody. Like, this isn't happening. And I didn't hear no. I heard yes, but. And that but was, but I don't want to share a wall, but I don't want to be attached to somebody. So I went out and found a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house. It had the garage, it had the yard for the dogs. It had, enough bedrooms to fit everybody. But on the back, it had these 2 little cottages that were little 1-bedroom, 1-bath cottages. And the mortgage on this place was $1,200, and those cottages rented for $650 each. I was like, dang, dude, we could get paid $100 a month to live here and then pocket the housing allowance. So whenever we went to go close, I told my wife, because I showed her the house. She was like, this house looks fine, whatever. I didn't tell her about the cottages on the back. So when we went to close, I said, you see those 2 cottages on the back? She's like, yeah. Says, what do you think about it? She's like, they look like neighbors. I was like, that's right. They do look like neighbors. And she goes, well, we're going to have neighbors. I mean, what's up? I was like, well, those neighbors happen to be our tenants now. And she was like, what? Why would you do that? I said, look, we live for free, right? Sometimes you just got to make the move, man. And once she realized that, and the whole family realized that we were able to put like $1,400 a month directly into savings because we were living for free. It was a game changer for me. It was a game changer for the whole family, all on board. I call that the hush money, right? Like as soon as you start making money in real estate, everybody in the family just kind of, chills out and lets you do your thing. At first, it's all this, there's too much risk. Is it the right time? Once you bring in that paycheck, guys, that's that hush money, brother. You got to start rocking and rolling. But I tell you, before that, we had read the Dave Ramsey books. We had, we were doing the snowball effect because living on single income as like a very junior person in the military, you are the middle class. And we were struggling. Like I did not have enough money really to do anything. And we had to pay down like a few debts. I was never really too much in debt. But I remember doing the snowball method, and it was where you would take every dollar, the first and 15th of the month, take every dollar out of the bank, put it in all these envelopes and like save. And then, every dollar was accounted for. And at the end of whenever I get my envelopes, right, I'd go to work all dang week, get my envelope, and it's like $100 for gas and $75 for entertainment. And I was like, this sucks, dude. $75 is not enough to entertain Ramsey. I was like, I had to quit drinking Red Bulls. I had to quit drinking expensive whiskeys, quit dipping. I was like, man, I can't do none of this stuff. And once I got that hush money, right, it was $1,400 just to live. I didn't have to put my money in an envelope no more. Shit, I started drinking Red Bulls and expensive whiskeys, doing all the stuff. Like I was like, all I had to do was make a decision to live like this. And it was no real change, man. It was just, I had these 2 units that now I owned that paid me money. And all of a sudden I got to start doing all the things that I wanted to do again. Whereas regular, military education on how to manage your finances will just tell you don't, instead of telling you what to do. And so once I figured out what to do, like how to just make more money, I didn't have to worry about all the stuff that budgeting and finances, they constantly tell you what you can't do. And I'm the type of person who wants to live life, dude. I'm only going to get one shot at this. I don't want to quit doing things. I want to start doing things. So how do I do that? And investing in real estate really unlocked my freedom to be able to do whatever the hell I want to be honest. And ever since then, I have just really taken it and escalated it for no reason other than I like doing it. And it makes it to where I don't have to look and say, we can't do that. We can't take that trip. To hell with that lifestyle. I ain't doing that.
Yeah. That's great. That makes a lot of sense. No, that's exactly right. I mean, even in Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Kiyosaki talks about, wanting, I think it's a Bentley or a Rolls Royce. And he's like, okay, what do I have to buy from a real estate standpoint that'll pay for that for me? So it's just a matter of, as long as you invest it in certain ways, then it does give you that freedom to be able to do what you want. So
yeah, bro, the statement is like, not, I can't afford it. How can I? And that was the first one that house hack was the first one that unlocked really the lifestyle we wanted to live. And then I bought a duplex, and it's kind of a funny story on why I got the duplex, because my truck had an old Ford F250 diesel that had broke down, and I needed a reliable truck. And I was looking at this Toyota Tacoma. It was about 40 grand, but I also had this duplex that I wanted to buy that was 40 grand. So I called up my mentor. I was like, man, I really need a new truck, but I really want to do this investing stuff. What do you think? And he goes, all right, well, how much is the duplex, or how much is the truck notes going to be? I was like, about $500-600 a month. He said, well, what's the cash flow on the duplex? I said, it's about $500-600 a month. He says, well, go, dummy, you can have both. Just buy the duplex and then go get a loan for the truck, and the duplex pays for the notes. That is exactly how that went down. Like, that duplex bought me my truck. And then when I sold the duplex, I could have bought 2 trucks with the profit that I made from the equity. It's like, just doing this stuff really started to make sense at a young age for me, and took off from there.
Yeah, that's great. And so after the duplex, what kind of, I guess, keep going with you, what was next, and kind of how did it keep going from there?
Okay. So when I bought the duplex, and everything that I have done has gotten a little bit bigger, and things have changed a little bit more outside of my comfort zone. So when I bought the duplex, that was kind of like the first investment that wasn't at my primary residence, right? So you really had to do the math right, because at my house hack, it didn't matter if those units on the back rented or not. I was going to have to pay for a house anyway. But now I had to do some math, and the duplex worked out great. So after I bought the duplex, I saved the money from the house hack. I saved the money from the duplex, and saved up money to go out and buy a commercial property. And the first one I brought was like this 7-unit apartment complex. And after I put the money down for that, did all the renovations myself, and funded all the renovations out of my pocket. I didn't know what I was doing, but I was doing it, right? I was naive enough to get started, and did the BRRRR strategy on that. So it took me like 2 years to renovate everything. And I had put a total of 100,000 into it. And then whenever I went to go refinance, I got 100,000. And I was like, holy crap, I just got all my money back. And this thing's cash flowing like $3,500 a month. I was like, whoa, I need to figure out how to do this. Right. So I started implementing the BRRRR strategy. But you will reach a point, and this is to people out there getting started, you feeling like you're rocking and rolling. You will reach a point in which your growth and your opportunities are outpacing your capital returns. Because like when you're first doing it, you start putting down all of your money, or you and just a couple buddies' money, to purchase these assets, and they will cash flow if you do it right. But that flow of money doesn't rebuild your down payment capability as quickly as you will find opportunities, because of the skill set you've developed to be able to find profitable properties, and the network that you've built. These things just start coming to you when you're really into it and you actually do it. So that's whenever I had to realize how to partner with other people and how to start raising money. It was out of necessity. I didn't really want to partner with anybody. I didn't want to have to go buy or raise money from other people. To be honest, nobody wants to have to do those things. The reality is it's a necessity for growth and scale. But then I got a little cocky, man. I went and partnered with a buddy of mine who was in another business that I have. And he saw what I was doing in real estate, and he said he wanted to get into real estate too. We get these dividend checks from our other business every year, and he'd ask what I'm doing with mine. I'd say I'm putting it into real estate. And he'd say, well, I'd like to do that too. And I told him, I said, well, I don't need help in Panama City, which is where I was investing. So where do you live? And he said, Shreveport, Louisiana. I said, well, cool. Here's what I do in Panama City. Do that in Shreveport, and we'll make money. Like cut and paste, right? Wrong. That's not how that works. This is the first time I'd ever invested outside of the city I lived in. Had a great partner, but a bad plan. And I told him I'd mentor him and help him and all this stuff. But what I realized is market selection matters a lot more than we think, right? Like, it is not cut and paste from one city to the next. And I remember closing out my taxes, like 2018 taxes. Panama City was crushing it, man. I was like outpacing my military income. But then I looked at the properties in Shreveport, and we had 9 units in Shreveport. And it was just a dog. I think I made $200 over the year off 9 units, which that is not good, right? That is a waste of time. Your money is not paying you nearly the return that you're expecting. And I asked my partners, like, hey, man, what's going on over there? And he says, look, dude, like, we got delinquencies. It's hard to rent these things. Like, we've done renovations and put money into it, but people aren't paying more because of it. So I said, man, what the heck's going on? And I looked on like Craigslist, but I don't know if Craigslist if anybody's still on it, but I looked on Craigslist in that area. And the first thing that I saw was first month's rent free, free storage unit. One of them was like, get a free TV with a 6-month lease. Dude, in Panama City, I had applications. I had people paying me application fees, like a line out the door to get in these units that I had freshly renovated. I was charging $25 just to apply to see if you could. Yeah. And in Shreveport, they were giving away free TV.
Total difference.
Oh, no. Oh, this is bad. And what ended up happening is Shreveport was losing population. The median household income was declining. They had lost a couple thousand jobs at the Air Force Base there. That really kind of was the why Shreveport existed. So Shreveport was like a dying city, and it was, high delinquency, low demand, they had more units than they had people to rent. I didn't know these things. I just thought, hey, real estate, you buy it, you win. Yeah. But after that, I said, okay, we got to dial in this market selection. So me and him, we didn't give up. We could have gave up, man. That really could have stifled me and him's partnership, our relationship, because I told him I was going to help him. And really, his first introduction to real estate was at a loss and just a pain in the butt. But we ended up paying a guy. We flew out to LA, paid a guy like $4,000 to teach us how to read markets at large. And we took that and ran with it. And ever since then, now we do a lot more exclusive. Like, we won't invest in a city and we won't invest in a property unless that market makes sense first. The market has to make sense. And then we dial it in from market to neighborhood to property. We've got a method in which we do that. And I've got some resources that I can give your listeners, like just how we
that'd be great.
What we call market vital signs. Yeah, I'll send those over.
Okay,
cool, man.
What are some of the biggest things that you do look at, though, when you're looking at the market? Population growth, what medium income, what is
the big five that we have? We call the market vital signs. And this is if you're looking at a metropolitan statistical area, right? It's not going to be that easy to look at something that's like 50,000 units or below. It's useful, but just know that at that number of population, the outliers can really affect it, right? If you got like a billionaire living in a town of 2,000, it's going to skew the numbers. But the first one is population growth. We want to see a 1% increase per year over the last 20 years. So 20 for 20. The next one's going to be median household income. We want to see that rise 1.5% over the last 20 years. So that'd be 30% over 20 years. Median household value. We want to see no less than 30%, no more than 50% over the last 20 years. Median household value is the one that there is such thing as too much, right? There's not so much thing as too much population growth and too much median household income rise. But when the value has gone up so much, you're starting to look at a bubble. Okay, so we put a cap on that one. I don't want to see more than 50% over the past 20 years. We look at the crime index, right? It needs to be below national average. So they do these on scores of 0 to 1,000. We want it to be 500 or below and trending south for the past 5 years. And then we look at population growth being over the national average for the last 12 months, right? And like I said, I could give you the document that shows you exactly what and why we look for this. But the big two we look at all of these, and I at least want the city or the MSA to be pinging on 4 out of those 5 cylinders. If a city doesn't have one of those to the max, right, it's not pinging, I'll still invest in that city. I just got to dig deep and figure out why that's happening. And if it means that there's opportunity. But the one that I don't like to mess with is that crime rate, because crime rate is the direct reflection of delinquency and desperation in that city. And it really kind of tells me that that city's not investing in their law enforcement, their educational system. They've got a lot of poverty and delinquency. And whenever an economy gets hit at large, like COVID or something like that happens, those cities are the ones that get hit the hardest, the quickest, because they're already living paycheck to paycheck for at large, don't have the savings set up to be able to weather a storm. And when jobs start going away, the landlords stop getting paid. And that is precisely the one that I look at and take the most seriously would be the crime index.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Okay. And then as far as the investments from the 7-unit in Shreveport, where'd you go from there?
Yeah, so this is when we started to read markets very well. This was at the same time I was transferring from Panama City to San Diego, right? The military was moving me away. And I knew that it was going to be hard for me to replicate what I had done in Panama City in any other city itself without being able to partner with people, because San Diego is not really a cash flow city. Any city with like a major sports program, NFL or Major League Baseball, those are typically kind of hard to cash flow cities, right? Just for simple terms. Some of them are better than others, but San Diego isn't a very good cash flowing city. So I didn't want to waste my time driving around San Diego trying to search for cash flow. But I also at the same time realized that I can't just justify doing 4, 5, 6 unit apartment complexes because there's not enough meat on the bone for me to bring in partners who can have my back when I deploy or can have my back whenever I can't be there, right? So the bigger the project you do, the better the team you can build, because you can afford to pay people to do specific individual specialized skill sets, right? At the same time, I was realizing as we were growing, the economy of scale in doing larger apartment complexes, right? And for instance, there's probably people out there who do single family that are listening to your show and are wondering, what's all this multifamily about? Okay. If you go around and buy 10 single family homes, right? That's investor A, 10 single family homes. And then investor B goes out and buys 1 10-unit apartment complex. We just kind of explain the differences. And this is what made me really look at scaling. Okay. Investor A, who's buying 10 single family homes, has to go out and underwrite and find 10 individual single family homes that cash flow, right? Not only that, got to put in and apply for 10 loans, got to go to 10 closings, 10 contract periods. Once they close, they've got to manage 10 properties at 10 different addresses. They've got 10 different yards to pay for yard care, 10 different pest controls. And the big one, especially in the South where I was investing, 10 different insurance deductibles. Right. Everything is times 10 on expenses. Not only that, if your tenant moves out, you have gone from 100% occupied to 100% vacant overnight. And all of those expenses go back into your name on that mortgage. So it's very hard to find partners on that, because you would have to find either one partner does it 10 times. You can't take from one building or one single family house and float the expenses on another if you got different partners on them, right? Because that's conflict of interest. There's just so many complications, limitations, and it's just there's not enough meat on the bone to really scale it up. Now take investor B. That person had to go out, find one property that works. They had to go to one closing to get one loan, a commercial loan, which usually on like a 4 or 5 page document, it's way more simpler. Then they've got 10 units crammed into one building. So that's one roof, one lawn, one driveway, potentially one large hot water heater feeding it all. You can, instead of doing 10 individual trash services, you can implement a dumpster. The economy of scale is way better. And on those 10 single family homes, just think of the exterior expenses. That's 4 walls that you've got to maintain on the exterior. Whereas on the, Tom, that's 40 walls over 10 units. On the apartment, that's 4 walls total. So your exterior expenses go way down. All of these small things add up at a massive scale because it reduces your expenses drastically. Now take that 10 unit and then times that by 10 and get to 100. The big break in the game typically seems to be somewhere in the 80 to 100 unit apartment complex deal, because even on that 10 unit apartment complex, you're still that's not going to feed a property manager year round. They're going to have other apartment units that they manage. But on a 100 unit apartment complex, you can have in-house management, in-house maintenance. You can have a leasing office and show just one unit every single time that represents the remainder of the units. You are marketing one time, right? You actually have a marketing budget. That's pretty cool. You're doing one tax return, right? Like all of these things really reduce the expenses as you scale up. And it just makes perfect sense to be able to do that. The problem is typically that not one person can afford to do all those things. Not one person understands all the skill sets that are involved in owning and managing these things. So you end up having to build a team, but you can, because the economy of scale is so great and the net operating income is so great that you attract people because you can feed them. And that, to me, is the biggest benefit about syndicating large apartment complexes. For me, because I'm in San Diego and I invest in the South, I need big things to happen so I can get big personalities and big people behind me. Does that make sense, brother?
Makes a whole lot of sense. Speaking of, kind of where you're investing, what, from a geographic standpoint, where are you looking at the most right now, and maybe where's some of your portfolio?
So I really like Arkansas right now. We were in the South, Panama City, looking all along the Gulf Coast from Jacksonville to Mobile, Alabama was kind of like the predominance of where our research was going. We shifted over to Texas because Texas was really hot and had some good partners in there. And we bought several hundred units in Texas. We bought Lubbock, San Antonio, and then really Arkansas has been kind of my favorite market lately. And I'll tell you why. It's just steady Eddie market, right? It's not going to shoot through the sky like Northwest Arkansas is doing really well. It's kind of like the Jackson Hole of mountain biking right now. And there's a lot of big investors doing stuff with resorts up there. But Florida kind of killed Florida right now, or the Gulf Coast. If you're looking at what to do about it right now, insurance prices are just killing deals left and right. You're looking at $1,200 to $1,500 a year per unit. And on a 100 unit apartment complex, that is a massive, massive bill. It cuts right into your NOI, adds no value to the apartment. You can't really justify increasing the rental directly to the tenants because your insurance prices are higher. Of course, you can increase the rent, but every time you increase rent, you risk occupancy going down. I am kind of out of the Gulf Coast of Florida right now, other than what I currently own. Texas's heat has been hot for a long time, but I remember that median household value going up above 50%. Texas is kind of teetering along that point. So I've shifted my focus over to Arkansas and the Blue Ridge Mountains, specifically for the boutique hotels that I like to buy.
Yeah, good. Well, that may be a good transition to that, because I stay in a lot of hotels myself for what I do for a living, and I've always had an interest in that, and of course, boutiques kind of neat in itself. So tell us a little bit about that. What got you into that, and what areas do you currently have investments?
So I had a boutique hotel kind of fall in my lap, brother. Like, I was not looking at hotels, did not want anything to do with hotels, but I was doing short-term rentals in Panama City. I took my 7 unit and converted it all into short-term rentals because it just made sense. Like, my income went up, like it doubled whenever things were getting hot. I've since converted that back, and that's a whole other conversation on where short-term rentals are going. Right. But because I had short-term rental experience and was applying scale to it, because I would take small apartment complexes and just rent them out kind of like a hotel, I was thinking about it. And a friend of mine's parents owned one, and they wanted to get rid of it. And they knew that I had bought real estate. It was in a small town, South Louisiana, kind of like a hunting town, 3,000 people to it. And I was applying my syndication market vital signs to this hotel and was like, this ain't going to work. I'm never going to buy this. So I was just telling them, no. And then I started thinking about that. I was like, I'm off on this. The market, the MSA doesn't matter as much for a hotel because people aren't going to live there. They're going to visit. And this is a cute little town that people do visit. So I kind of adjusted the way that I looked at these hotels, and I heard the sweetest sound that I'd ever heard in my life, and because they had hit me up and said, Ramsey, will you just make us an offer? I was like, oh shit, I've never heard this. So it was completely off market. Friends of the family hitting me up, asking me to make an offer. And for the first time, I made a fair offer based on what my investing needs were and what was going to take to get this hotel for me to learn and understand hotels. And I ended up getting this thing for a good deal that worked for both of us. And it really wasn't too difficult to implement the stuff I was already doing in short-term rentals, the stuff I was already, the philosophies I'd already had in multifamily to a hotel. At the end of the day, it's just scaling what you already do. And that is kind of like my theme is scalable real estate. If I can't figure out the template and I can't scale it, then I don't do it. Right. And so we bought this boutique hotel. It ended up only needing to be 35% occupied to break even. It averages between 46 and 53% occupancy year round. And it's a pretty handsome cash flowing turnkey deal, that really pays me and the couple of guys I went in on. That was a joint venture. It pays us well and we don't have to do much. It's got an on-site manager, in small towns, just pick somebody local. They're not like trained at whatever hotel college there is. You don't have to pay $100,000 a year for these folks. They're just good, honest people who know how to do turnovers and treat people nicely. And man, I tell you that, like, once I saw that, I said, dude, little boutique hotels, they can work. And I'm not talking, what I want to tell your listeners, I'm not talking about roadside motels. The draw can't just be someone's tired and needs to stop. You're in competition with massive flagship hotels who have way more amenities, way more economy of scale, way more policies, way more branding, way more, they'll just crush you. Okay. So I look for boutique hotels in travel dependent cities that that don't have enough, I'd say don't have enough of a draw for a flagship hotel to make sense. Like you want to find little towns that don't have Marriotts and Hiltons and Holiday Inns. They're going to get the most bang for their buck in cities because those hotels, they don't want to have anything less than 60 to 80 units for them to even put their name on it. Okay. Right. So smaller towns like that have a need. Well, those smaller towns and travel dependent, you are in competition with like Airbnb, but a lot of those towns don't really like the idea that Airbnb is pushing out their workforce. Airbnb, Vrbo, whatever it may be. So those little towns are fighting back on the regulations because they need people in that town who can work. And you've literally outpriced the locals from being able to live there. Right. Well, what I have found is if you can find boutique hotels, places that already exist, they already have the zoning, they have the scale, whether it's 10 to 20 units. I don't want to go over 30 units because after 30 units, you really need dedicated professional management. You need a lot of implemented systems that I just don't, I'm not going to be able to train these folks. I just want to buy something and apply scale to it, put it on some of the short-term rental platforms for the free marketing, and essentially have a multifamily place that we rent out on short term. If you can find travel dependent cities, zoning's already in place, fix the Wi-Fi problem in that town, because most of them have it, and make it cute and with a theme, right? You will be successful in boutique hotels. But remember the word boutique. Don't just have a motel, single level, flat roadsides, no shade, no draw to it. There needs to be a theme and a draw. Lakes, rivers, streams, views, those types of things. Everything that you would expect to get out of an Airbnb experience, you need to find those little niches, and they work. They work pretty well.
Yeah, that's neat. Very neat. And what about as far as some of the systems and stuff that you put in place? You mentioned that you keep it a lot. You still have an on-site manager. So as far as like access to the property and all that, are they doing, like, I know with my Airbnb, they can just punch in the code. That all happens automated. But with the boutique hotels, are they actually handing them the key, checking in that way, or what does that look like?
They were. We ended up going to the punch code system that our manager can change the code for. There's like a master code for the cleaners. Yeah. Put it in a punch code system that gets automatically texted to the customers whenever they book. We use like Booking.com does more than the Airbnb and VRBO. I really wouldn't waste your time too much with it unless you have maybe 10 or 11 like cabins that you're wanting to rent, because VRBO's theme seems to be a lot more higher end vacation homes, where right. Airbnb is just a place to stay that's cute, clean, and comfortable. And then Booking.com is where people are looking to stay in hotels. In our little hotel down in Louisiana, you have to kind of find the niche of the customers, right? And especially with those little boutique hotels, and target those folks. We get a lot of European travelers who come to America that don't know if I never knew this. They hate interstates. They hate chains. So they're looking for small little places in small towns that feels kind of like home for them. And they take the scenic route of South Louisiana because they like the swamps. They like the birds. They want to check all this stuff out because it's unique to them. We get a lot of European travels. We get a lot of duck hunters. We get people who are coming back home to do like sea doing and boat on the water, stuff like that. And we just kind of market to those folks. But as far as like systems inside, we have a scheduling platform for the cleaners that comes with the customer relationship management system that they use. I don't even know what it is, because my partners handle that stuff. But yeah, like definitely we want to reduce the amount of human interactions that are required, so that the people that work there can focus on being nice to folks and just making sure they're taken care of, rather than it being like this mandatory, you have to interact with a human to get into your room or to get a key card or whatever it may be. Right. So, yeah.
No, that's great. I think that makes a lot of sense too. If you've got somebody coming in late, and you don't have to have somebody there all the time. That's interesting. And so, how many of those now do you have?
I've got the one boutique hotel now in Louisiana. I've since started looking in the Blue Ridge Mountains, because I'm retiring in Asheville, North Carolina when I get out of the Navy. And I want this one, I will say, has been a great template for me to learn from. And it's taken us a couple of years to really understand how could we scale this. But the predominance of my focus has been in syndications. So really think about like boutique hotels. I know that they work, but it would take away from my focus on syndications, which I know, like, love, and have learned to be able to really lean into this. So it's kind of what's brewing up next is leaning into the boutique hotels. But I want to be more boots on the ground, to get that going. And then I'll work my way out of, like, replace myself with partners and stuff like that to kind of scale it up. So yeah,
makes sense. And as far as, if you want to maybe tell us about any, what are you looking for on the multifamily front right now? Are there opportunities to invest? How can people find out more about you?
Yeah, so the market that we're looking in is North Little Rock. We're looking up in Fayetteville, Bentonville area of Northwest Arkansas. I will still do a deal in the Gulf Coast if the insurance policy, if we can actually get a reasonable quote. but it's so damn scary because they just raise it on you and you can't do anything about it. I'm getting kind of sick of it. So I've not really been looking a lot in the Florida, or not Florida, I shouldn't say Florida, the Gulf Coast at large. So yeah, we predominantly focus on 100 unit plus value add B and C class apartment complexes. But the recent shifts in interest rates have changed our method. So I will tell you right now, the person who can figure out financing is going to win in this market. Okay. Interest rates have gone up 6-7%. And prices have not gone down 6 or 7%. So really there's kind of an anomaly right now in the market. And this is why so many people are stagnant. And I'll get to the point here in a second, is where if people bought low with cheap money, well, right now they're cash flowing way better than they can exit the property and re-enter the market at. So they've got no reason to sell. Okay. Not for a discount. Then right now prices are so high and interest rates are so high that you've got no reason to buy, to enter the market right now, especially if you currently own cash flowing assets. Well, in real estate, you've got to have a discount on one of two things, the debt or the equity, right? So if debt is high, right, interest rates are high, then you need a discount on the property. Well, if debt is low, then you're willing to pay more for the property because you can kind of subsidize that cash flow by having cheap debt. Well, right now, both are high. So there's a lot of people who aren't buying. The people who are buying, and this is what we are looking for, the creative financing. So there's kind of a storm brewing in real estate. I'm not going to project that there's a big backslide happening, but everybody who went on bridge debt in 2020 went into bridge debt with a 3 to 5 year term so that they could buy that property at 2020 when prices weren't crazy and interest rates were low. But if they went on bridge debt, which is it's not long-term debt, it's in 3 to 5 years, you've got to pay this back. And they put all the money renovating the property. Now the property's up to a point to where it may be able to cash flow, but it's probably not going to cash flow once they refinance into the new interest rate. Well, they're looking at either going on extensions, which are expensive, or refinancing for a negative cash flow, which is not economically smart, or having to sell this property at a discount and tell their investors, we're sorry, we couldn't give you the returns. Those three scenarios all suck for a syndication team. Okay. But you're about to see a lot of people who are coming to, because it's 2023 now. So everybody who did those refinances and got unsecured, I shouldn't say unsecured debt, got bridge debt in 2020 on 3 to 5 year terms. The next upcoming 2 to 5 year, 2023 to 2025, you're going to see a lot of those loans called due and people who can't do anything about it. So they're going to be forced to discount the property. Those people in that scenario is where I'm going to see, where I project seeing discounted rates on the properties themselves because they're in hot water. The other folks are the ones who got an assumable loan. So if you got an assumable loan, meaning that you got long-term financing at a pretty good price in 2020, right? You did all your renovations, you successfully did the refinance, and now you have Fannie Freddie assumable loans. Those properties are worth more because they have secured assumable debt. Okay.
Right.
I will pay full price. I will pay today's price for a property if it's got 2020's interest rates on the debt. So if you can find assumable loans out in the market right now, pay the full price and get the cheap debt, because cheap debt's not coming back for a while and you'll be able to cash flow. But you got to figure out how to get a discount on either the debt or the equity. And if you're paying full price for both, which people have in the past, I would say past 12 months, people have done both, or people are getting ready to be forced to do both because their loans come and due. Those are people in hot water. Those are where the opportunities are going to be. Their loss, your gain. It's just how it is. So you can still operate in today's market if you can find one of those two problems to solve.
No, that's a great way to look at it. And I think that's good advice. And I think it's spot on with kind of where we're sitting right now. So great. Well, I appreciate, I know we're kind of coming to time here. I think you've added tremendous value to our guests. Really interesting background, and really just love hearing about what you're doing. I guess if you could I got a couple questions for you before we let you go. One being, is there any good book recommendations that you could provide the audience?
Well, the holy grail and the easy one, which I won't dip out on just giving this one. If you haven't read Rich Dad Poor Dad, go do it. It is the entry level how to look at money. You got to. If you're stuck in single family mode, right? Like I call single family the Boone's Farm of real estate investing. Everybody starts out drinking it. You drink too much of it. You get the hangover. Grow up and move out. Get on to multifamily. Get on to scalable real estate. Your life will be changed. The way that you look at things will be changed, right? But if you're stuck in multifamily and the problem that you're having is that you can't raise money, or you just stuck in, I can only use my money. I would say Hunter Thompson's book on real estate capital is probably one that you need to take a look at. That really opens up your mind to the ability to raise capital. And if you're really wanting to get into syndications and just looking at a book, I would say Joe Fairless's The Best Ever Syndication book is one that really got me going into syndications. It really kind of explains things step by step. I have a resource that I will share with folks that is even distilled down to a very, very easy, understandable level on how to do syndications without using your own money, how to build a team, how to brand yourself, all those things. It's all in this one document, and I'll definitely share it with you for sure. But those would be the two books. It's kind of, when it comes to books, what problem do you have? Here's how you solve it, or here's a good way of looking at it. If it's, it kind of depends on every time I talk to somebody and do like a strategy session with her or something, I kind of try to identify what their issues are. And I usually have a book to recommend. But if people's mindsets aren't in the right spot, boom, give them a book on mindset. If you aren't good at goals, here's the One Thing by Gary Keller. Like I can't just recommend one. It depends on what your problems are.
Yeah. No, you've already thrown out quite a few really amazing books. So appreciate
I love
that.
them. I read a lot.
Yeah. All right, Ramsey, what about any advice maybe for somebody who's just starting out in the real estate journey?
For sure. If a lot of people right now are on the sidelines saying it's not the right time for the market, and you kind of alluded to it earlier, and I remember this one quote, it is not about timing the market, it's about time in the market. Okay. Real estate tends to take care of you over time. Now, I'm not saying enter the market and be cavalier and make just buy something just to buy it. If you lack the education, hell, there's plenty of people out there that can educate you. I'm one of them. I can help educate you as well. But if you lack the education, get enough to get started and go get a deal under your belt, build some credibility, build some understanding. If you got to do it on your own dime, do it on your own dime. Don't learn on other people's dime, right? Don't go raise money so that you can learn, right? But get started and move forward, because it's not about timing the market. It's about time in the market. Okay. Yeah. Properties that I own that cash flow $2,500 in 2015, now cash flow $5,000. I haven't done anything different. The market just gave me a gift, right? They used to be worth $300,000. Now they're worth $800,000 just because the market gave me a gift. Real estate will take care of you if you enter it. If you stay out of it, dude, you only got one life. The best time to enter real estate was about 40 years ago. The next best time is today. Okay. You can't take back the time you spent not doing it. You might as well get started and get going. If that means reading a book, if that means starting your education process, if that means building your network, it doesn't have to mean go out and get a loan and buy a piece of real estate because you don't understand what you're doing. Build that network, build your skill sets, build your capabilities, and build your damn life.
Awesome. Fantastic advice there as well. So, well, Ramsey, I've really appreciated our time together. And I think we're ready to call it a show. So thank you so much.
All right, brother. Appreciate it.
Yep. Being that you're still here, I trust you found value in this episode. I personally wish I would have known these guests and strategies when I started my wealth creation journey. Go to wealthflow.capital to subscribe to our newsletter. And as a free gift, we will send you our quarterly market report and the top 10 things to look for in an investment opportunity. Take a minute to give our show a rating and review. Help us reach 1 million professionals by subscribing and sharing this episode with someone you know who could also find value in it.